The very first story that I thought of when I wanted to make this podcast. Welcome to the Ordinary Supernatural Podcast, where we explore mysteries, miracles, and magic that happens in everyday life. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ordinary Supernatural Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Lynn Rodriguez, and today, my friends, is the inaugural episode. This is our first ever podcast. I am so excited. And we have with us today an extremely special guest, one of two people on the entire planet who is responsible for me being alive. But unless you count ancestors, never mind. It's my daddy. Please welcome Gary Rodriguez, my dad, an amazing human being, one of my favorites, one of my heroes. And I'm so happy to have you with me today on the Ordinary Supernatural. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is fun.
You look so lovely and mystical with your when you're with the misty clouds. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you a normal, everyday person.
I don't know about normal every day, but I got a story. For as long as I can remember, when I was a little kid, like 3 years old, there was a TV show brand new called West Point Today. And it was cadets at West Point marching back and forth. And from the time I was 3 years old, I just was obsessed with West Point. And I knew at that point that I was going to be a West Point cadet. Nobody in my family had ever been in the military. Nobody had any desire. As I went through elementary school and then high school, my focus never changed. Was about to graduate from high school. I had applied to West Point. Interestingly, I applied to two schools, Juilliard School of Music and West Point Military Academy. Very interested in music. And so my music teacher at school had recommended that I apply to Juilliard School of Music. And I got accepted there. And I had always wanted to go to West Point, so I applied there and I got accepted there. So I had to let Juilliard go, and I accepted my opportunity to go to West Point.
I'm sorry, Juilliard. Sorry about that. I've got another dream. That's amazing. You turned Juilliard down. Who gets to say that?
Yeah.
Like there's people who cry and fight
Yeah,
to make it into Juilliard. That's amazing.
So
I went to school for music and theater, as you know, and I didn't even apply to Juilliard. Like
wow.
I don't know why. That's amazing. Yay. Go you.
The genes, family genes.
Yeah. I should have tried. Could have, should have. Too late
So,
now.
After West Point, I was an officer in the military, spent 4 years in Oklahoma, and then 4 years in Germany, where two beautiful children were born. My son, Gary Jr., and my daughter, you.
Me.
And
Thank you.
it was a great experience. The military was a great experience.
Well, let me ask you. So you were you left the Army a captain, correct?
Yeah.
In the United States Army. Does that mean by U.S. standards that you are a captain, or you could be called a captain forever?
That's a good question. I don't even know the answer to that.
Should people have been calling you Captain Rodriguez this whole time?
No. And in the military, if you're not in the military, the name captain doesn't really ring true anyway. So
okay. Oh, so it's not like earning a doctorate or something. It's like you earned being a captain. I feel like, you know what? I feel like we should look that up because that's interesting.
I will.
I wonder if you have like captain status for life, even if you're not active military. That's cool. So
everybody started calling me captain.
Right? Yeah. And you are also the music minister in the church. You're of the Roman Catholic faith. Yes. And
yes. The music ministry I did for almost 13 years. And I ran the adult choir, the children's choir, and a folk group. And it was wonderful. So I truly enjoyed that, working with my family, my kids in the children's choir, my wife.
You're a national trainer, right?
Yes. My wife and I became very entrenched in the get well community. There's a lot of illness out there that doesn't need to be. There's a lot of supplements that can help. And so my wife and I became fixated on this, learned all that we could about supplementation. And then we started training all over the country, and we've helped so many people. And what a gift that is, helping people. I mean, when I think of the things when I was in the choir, when I think of the trainings that we did, that people come up to you, 10 years or 20 years later and say, gosh, I remember this. It's a very powerful thing.
Yes.
We really
Yes.
enjoyed being trainers, and we still train, and we still have a business with health and nutrition.
Yeah.
Powerful.
That is powerful. One of the basic human needs, and in all the things that I study, trauma and metaphysics and energy and all of that stuff, one of the most basic human needs is the need for contribution, the need to give back, the actual need to give. And I think that as an empath who is a child of wonderful, loving, giving parents, I think I thought, oh, in our family, we love to help people and we love to give whatever. Like, I think I thought that was personal to each person. But to have learned that last year was really fascinating to me, that it is a human need for every single person to feel a sense of contribution or to give in some way. And I was like,
Wow. How
that's
true.
beautiful. I
How
love
true.
that. We're wired that way, that we should help and love one another, right?
Oh, yeah. And I did a lot of theater. I've done a lot of theater over the years. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget going to New Covenant Tabernacle, which was not a Catholic group. And they asked me to play Jesus in Jesus Christ,
Yes.
not Superstar, I'm sorry, Godspell. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life to be able to play the role of someone who influenced with his kindness and with his um, honesty, changed so
Mm.
many lives. It was very powerful. It's a great
Oh,
experience.
Daddy, that's profound. Yes, I never actually thought about the effect. I mean, I thought about it with Jim Caviezel. I remember seeing interviews with him, and he said it changed him, and there's certain roles he couldn't take, and there were a lot of things that happened. But you played Jesus too, and it's not the only time. You played Jesus in the crucifixion, the Passion play in church, right?
Yeah, yeah. It
That
was
is
very, very powerful.
profound. Yeah, like to imagine what it's like to be in the body and the mind of the kindest person who ever walked the face of the earth. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just incredible. And I will say for the record that you are a phenomenal talent, Dad. You I cried so bad when you died. Spoiler alert, Jesus dies and then rises again, right? But when you died in Godspell, and how old was I then? Like 8 or 10, whatever. I
We can't-
and you really, like, I just like I felt their love for you, and I felt you as this kind and beautiful leader, and then you died. I was like, oh my gosh, I lost it. And then you came back. I think I cried even harder when you had the white Superman t-shirt, and so great.
I remember also going to a show at a theater. This was like 10 years ago. And I was greeting the cast as we were leaving. They were lined up and we were saying hi to them. And a guy, this big guy who played Herod, I think, said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I saw you play Jesus about 20 years ago. That is the reason that I do theater and that I love what I do." And I thought, oh,
Oh,
what a
you
great
see,
moment.
you see, you see contribution, and we don't even know. And that is something so important, I think, for us to ponder on. You know what I mean? Or not at all. Just don't think about it. Do it. Give as much as you can. Love as much as you can. You have no idea the person you could reach, but also the ripple effect. The ripple effect is so real. You have
Absolutely.
no idea that by reaching one person, that could change their life and make them love theater. And then they could teach their kids that. And then their kids could become filmmakers who make beautiful things, who change people's lives and keep people from suicide. Like, who knows the effect that we have of living our truth and giving as much as we can, doing our best. That's just gorgeous.
That's so true. So true.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. So, training, health training across the country, working together with your wife, my beautiful mama, Judy, and most everything you guys have done for the last at least 10 years, right? 20?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, we've got our 50th anniversary is coming up in a couple of years. So
Yeah.
we've done a lot together.
Yeah, exactly 2 years, right? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes, and plays and theater, and you guys just did a show a couple years ago too. You did a regional show, right? 1776.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And
Love.
yeah,
Yes, loved it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so to call you ordinary as some regular Joe normal person, that is completely inaccurate. I agree. But that you are a flesh and blood person living a life, working jobs, raising a family, normal in the sense that you have to live normally, like everyone else. But you are also a very spiritual person, and you've had a lot, I would say, a lot of really interesting things happen to you in this lifetime. Unexplainable. See, now, just so that everyone listening knows, here on the Ordinary Supernatural podcast, we explore mysteries, miracles, and magic that happens in everyday life. And in your life, you've had some very interesting things happen on a wide spectrum, medically, spiritually, unexplainable things. So let's get into some of your stories.
Okay.
And let's start with the very first story that I thought of when I wanted to make this podcast, so that all people could know that there's more to life than this 3D, wake it up, going to work, paying the bills, getting old life that we live. There is so much spirit and magic sort of flowing throughout all of everyday life. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm a spiritual healer, spirit therapist of sorts. I have a practice called Starlight and Sacred Tree. So I'm like all the way the other way. And I wanted to create a podcast for people that live relatively normal lives, and maybe just have some interest in hearing about things that are other than normal, right? So let's start with the story of the Boyd Mausoleum.
Ah, the Floyd Mausoleum. What a memory. This takes me back. I was a teenager, a young teenager. And we had a friend who was a little out there, but she sensed that she was spiritual, and she used to do things and she used to invite people. We hadn't gone to any of her things before this, but she wanted us to go to a cemetery with her and do a seance. She was going to do a seance. We were all going to sit around. And the way that she structured it is that we would all sit in a circle, and then she would say things and everyone would repeat it all the way around the circle. So we kept doing this, and she was saying all kinds of stuff, and we were just going along and kind of wondering where this was all going.
Which, and I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry, that is so not like you, right? It is like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
weird to you,
And as a
right? That's
teenager,
creepy.
especially, yeah, this was just,
So
and
you were going along with it because you were with your big brother.
my big brother Ralph, right? And a couple of other friends of ours that were involved.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we knew her, and she was a nice lady. She was just quirky. So we were reciting this and going through the circle. And at one point, she looked different. She really did. For her facial expression changed, her voice tone changed. And again, I couldn't tell if this was made up or what was going on. But then she got to a point where she said, "Give us a sign." And we went around the circle, "Give us a sign, give us a sign," and got back to her. She bowed her head again and she said, "Give us a sign." And this happened several times. And then, like on the third, I think it was the third time, it went around and it got back to her. And when it got to her, we were sitting in a cemetery, and behind us was a mausoleum, a stone mausoleum with this huge door. and the door swung open and slammed shut, and swung open and slammed shut. Boom, 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 in a mausoleum. There is no way that this could have been, that she could have coordinated this.
Right. It's
This
not
was
on a
really
hinge.
happening. And what made it even more real was that she was as freaked out as we were. And so we all screamed and we were all running down the hill, leaving the cemetery. We got to the bottom of the cemetery and there was a police car there. And we told the police officer what happened. We were afraid that we would be in trouble if they found the mausoleum door. And we said, we didn't do that. We were just sitting there. So he came up with us and we all went back to the mausoleum. This door was sealed shut, but I mean sealed. The police officer said this door could not have opened. You guys are making this up. Everybody go home and don't come back to the cemetery again. And the seal was thick. There was just no way that this could have happened. It happened. That was
And
one
he
of
was
the
like,
most
stop,
terrifying moments of my life.
stop drugging, you kids.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
thought you were all high on the pot. That's
Yeah,
so funny. And then when we were kids, right? Because you told us that story and we were like, what? You know, that's like, it's like history in our family that happened to you. So then when we were kids, you took us, me and my big brother, Gary, who we call Roddy, and Jesse. She was really little, right?
yeah, she was
And a
little.
couple of our cousins, you took us to the cemetery, to the Boyd Mausoleum, so that we could see that it was like 2 inches of old concrete. Like it's not a hinge door where it should be swinging. It's like sealed. It's a sealed, closed.
Yeah,
And for anybody who doesn't know what a mausoleum is, it's like a small building where they keep a coffin, but it's raised above ground. It's not right. That's a
correct, exactly.
It's like a small shed that's sacred. I don't know how to explain it.
Yes, but it was all stone.
Yeah.
This and yeah, it was a
Yeah.
shed. It's a good
Yeah. Yeah.
explanation.
It was up ground about what, like 8 feet wide, like 8 by 8 cube or something like that.
Yeah.
And
And then either a coffin or if they burn them, the canister is
yeah.
put in the
Right, right. The
so
urn. Yeah,
the urn.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I personally can vouch, even though I wasn't there in the 70s or whenever this was, that door was definitely sealed shut, and that is just bananas. And I remember grandma saying something like, well, we used to wonder if maybe it was mass hysteria. Maybe if one person said, I hear the door slamming, I see the door, and you were like, no. I was I was not hysterical. I didn't believe that everyone believed something. It was that door was slamming open and shut. That is just crazy.
Absolutely. One moment.
Right. And to this day, like you don't know why. It was almost just like the spirit was disturbed and it was moving matter. It was moving a solid concrete door and just like
Oh my gosh.
very, very out of the ordinary. There's so many juicy, fun, and wonderful stories with my wonderful father, Gary Rodriguez. I'm so happy to have you here today. Technically, we have 2 more stories.
Yeah, the story is that I was driving home from work and a truck passed me with railroad ties in the back of the truck. And he hit a bump and the railroad tie came out end over end and I could see it. I was about to be impaled by this railroad tie. So I jerked the car to the right and hit the brick wall right at the entrance of this place, ironically, where I live now. The huge brick wall and went into it, and I was devastated. It was a horrible accident. They came, and I had been listening to a tape, which I normally did, called God. And it's God to enfold me, God to surround me, God in my thinking, God in my words. It's just all this story about God by John Michael Talbot. And obviously, after the crash, it stopped. And so they came in and they had to cut me out of the car because it was all bashed up. They had to remove the doors and cut me out. And when they cut my things and went to remove me, the song came back on. God in my thinking, God in my words, God in my life, God on my lips. and then it just kind of faded out and ended magical. And there was no way that that should have happened.
And what's so crazy about it too is that the way that you were pinned in between the steering wheel and the car, that the door, was like you were enfolded by the car, like inches in any other way. So if you were not enfolded,
It
right?
was
God to
true.
surround me, God to enfold me.
If I'd gone either way, forward through the windshield, left through the door, but I was crunched in like a like a cocoon.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
amazing. It's
Yep.
amazing.
You could have died, right? Just
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
so easily. So that was I mean, that's just a beautiful little nod to how, you know, miracles show up. It was a miracle that you survived that crash. And then the confirmation of the fact that it was a miracle and not just like you avoided it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, life goes on. I almost got in an accident. I got in an accident, but I didn't die. Life goes. No, it was a miracle that you survived. And then the
Yeah.
proof was in the way that the song came on after the tape recorder was destroyed. So the tape shouldn't have played. The music came on, and it was like, just so you know, there's something beyond this, beyond what you think is here, looking out for you, watching out for you, wrapping around you. That's just, I tell you what, you, my daddy, you are protected. you've 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 had a lot of falls and accidents and things that have happened to you. Oh well, while we're talking about miracles, let us discuss then the miracle of all miracles. We got one more story today of what happened to you when you weren't feeling well and you went to the doctor.
Oh, yes. To
2017.
yes, 2017.
Yeah.
I went to a doctor. I was feeling a lot of pain in my stomach and in my side. And I went to the doctor, and she was very nice. And she did her exam and she did all of the tests. And I was supposed to go in and talk to her about what the results were. And my wife walked in with me, and she's looking down at her tablet, and she wouldn't look at me. And I said, "Did you get the results back?" And she said, "Yes, yes." I said, "Doctor, I was it not very good?" And she said, "No, no." I said, "Well, can you tell me what happened?" She said, "You have so much cancer in your body, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. You have lymphoma." And she said, I don't know what to say. I feel bad." So I said, "So are you telling me to get my affairs in order?" And she said, "Whatever you think, whatever you think." So I went to the VA hospital, and they started giving me injections of all kinds of medications, with clearly the thought that maybe they could ease the pain and slow the thing down. But I was just riddled with this cancer. And after going through a lot of the things, I went to a friend of ours, actually a friend of yours.
Right, yeah.
Their family said that there is a healing mass, and that I might want to consider at least going. And why shouldn't I go
There's
to it?
this very special priest from Kenya, is it? He's from
Yeah, I think so, from Kenya. But he was the one who was doing these healings. So I went with them, and we went, and you get online, and then he looks at you, and he holds you, and he says prayers over you. And we were just amazed at what was going on around us. We saw people falling and people claiming that they were healed, and it was just like
really,
miracle after miracle.
really.
And so I thought, I'm ready for a miracle. This is it. It's time.
So you're at the healing mass
Mhm.
and you get up to the front, you've got your family all around you, people around you. And he said what? He pushed your head with his thumb, or how did that go?
Yes. Actually, he pushed my head with his hand, and
Yeah.
he said, "Be healed. Be healed by the power of Christ.
Mm.
Accept the healing." And I accepted it. I guess.
Did you
I said,
fall or did you get dizzy or
yes, I
anything?
fell.
Yeah.
I just went down, not on my knees even. I fell almost, and they have catchers. They have people that are
Yeah.
there to catch you because this happens to a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
And
I fell
did
and
you
I
just
was,
did you lose but I love talking about that phenomena because it's fascinating, right? Like that you lose strength in your legs or balance or
yeah, that's exactly it. And it's funny. I think a lot of people will fight it. And I wasn't fighting it, but I think a lot of people will fight when they feel something happening and
Mm.
they can actually avoid the miracle that's trying to take place because they're freaking out. So
It is bizarre.
I,
I mean,
uh,
it's not what we're used
and-
to dealing with or feeling. Yeah.
but I felt amazing. I felt just a lot of the fear, and it just, as I laid there, I waited and I caught my breath, and then they helped me up, and that was it. I didn't really think much had changed. So after I went through that and we went back and I went back to the hospital again. They hooked me up to the IV and then they sent me in to meet with the oncologist. He said, we need to do another set of x-rays and all that, MRI and whatever tests had to be done just to see if it had progressed or anything.
Because you had a reaction, right? Weren't you hospitalized?
Yes, a reaction to the medication. So
Right, right.
I was
And it was your
lose lose
second
position.
round or
Mhm.
yeah,
So
you had like 104 fever, you were red like a lobster, you were really, really suffering,
yeah,
right?
in a
Yeah, it
very
was a
bad way.
bad reaction. Yeah.
So he said he needed to do the tests again and they would get back with me. Tests came back. He came into the hospital, closed the door for me and Judy, and he said, I have never seen this before. You have no cancer in your body. There's nothing. I saw the other, we can look at the two x-rays and we
Mm.
can show you the difference. There is nothing. You go home. And that was it. I was That was my miracle.
The level of miracle. And like my friends out there listening, when you think of a miracle, right? Like this is it. This is it. You have a diagnosis. You're heading into stage 4, right? You're medically, the he said over and over again, the doctor said, I can't explain this. This isn't how it's supposed to go. This isn't how it goes. This is not normal. They did more tests and it was still clear, just clean bill of health. And to this day, yeah, clean, clean and clear and in the palm of God's hand, right?
Amen.
you are, you are, you are so looked out for and protected and so loved and you deserve it so much.
Thank you, my beautiful daughter.
I hope that you enjoyed this very first episode of the Ordinary Supernatural podcast. It has been a pleasure and a joy and an honor to be here with my dad, Gary Rodriguez. Thank you so much for your incredible stories.
Thank
I
you.
love you.
I
And
love you.
I know we're going to think of more stories. So I look forward to having you on another future episode again.
Can't wait.
If anybody wants to get a hold of me and submit, you can write to starlightsacredtree@gmail.com. That's starlightsacredtree@gmail.com, as opposed to my Instagram handle, which is Starlight and Sacred Tree, at Starlight and Sacred Tree on Instagram. Or you can find me on Facebook, Starlight and Sacred Tree page. So if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, if you have an idea for a future show, or if you'd like to just talk to me about a spiritual consultation, you have this feeling that maybe life isn't so three-dimensional and black and white after all. Maybe you're having a sort of a spiritual awakening. I'd be happy to help. Thank you so much for listening and have a beautiful, magical, mystical, miracle filled day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Great
I
story.
love ordinary supernatural.
Yes, the Ordinary Supernatural Podcast.